Hey, thanks for coming to this epic, day 7, day 8 of the KRAKEN?
For us, yeah.
And it's been a great show so far.
For you, it was day 30.
Yes, I'm always here. So I guess Fabian asked me to do a panel on what's up with RuneQuest, and I'm here to talk a little bit about that and answer some questions, and then Neil will take over for part of this talk and let you know what's up with what I call the digital initiative. Ooh, that sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? Okay, so I guess the first big question is, what's coming next? Well, that would be the RuneQuest starter set behind me. If I might get out of the field of focus, I'm going to pick this up from the stand here and hold up what is, I think a labor of love. This is a epic, ridiculously heavy product that is the culmination of almost 2 years solid of work and 6 months of international shipping. Still in progress. And anyway, I'm just going to keep this right here in front. So if you have the chance to look at it, I encourage you to. I don't know what the status is. Fabian got a box of them, and they may all be gone now, except for the one for the tombola, or there may still be some available. You could check with him later on. Anyway, this product, when we were at Essen a couple of years ago, we decided it was absolutely critical to do a starter set. Of course, obviously, for the people in the room, Glorantha is not a daunting topic, but for many newcomers, there's a bit of a ramp into getting into Glorantha. Some people feel that way. So we wanted to have a very accessible, very ready-to-use product, and we nailed down a list of what we felt the best introduction to Glorantha would be, and RuneQuest. And so one of the things that I absolutely insisted on is I have a whole stack. I collect games. I've been collecting games for 35 years, and I have a whole stack of starter sets. And the problem with starter sets, to me, the biggest problem is that if you play them, they're just useless after that. They have very little value after an initial run through. And the second biggest problem with most starter sets is there rarely is any material there for people who have already started playing the game. Like if I'm, let's say I'm playing Numenera and I buy the Numenera starter set. And it's not a slam on Numenera by any means, but the starter set has absolutely nothing for me if I'm wanting to play further into the world, because it's a very superficial view. So I wanted this to be of use both to new players and to longtime Glorantha fans. I wanted it to include a city of Johnstown, for example, detailed in glory. I wanted to have scenarios that, aside from the Return to Snakepipe Hollow scenario, that scenarios that were all original, so that you can use them in your own. What's that? Or no, Rainbow Mountains. Wow, I feel like I've been up drinking until 1:30 last night.
I would say that you're the one who caused people to be up drinking.
Yes, that's true. So forgive me if I'm a little unclear about details. Yes, Rainbow Mounds. The Rainbow Mounds scenario is a revisit to that classic location, but updated for the 1625 post-Dragon Rise world. And so we've got a starter booklet that's all about Glorantha. We've got a book about the rules. We've got a book that is a solo quest that can teach you how to play the game and run it even as a GM. And players and GMs are encouraged to use it. You play Vasana going through the battle at Dangerford, which is a pivotal event in Gloranthan history. And then the starter set begins shortly after that, where the adventure set, where you arrive, like the first adventure has the characters arriving in Johnstown and having to deal with some problems. The second adventure has some problems in Johnstown, and then the third adventure sends them off to the Rainbow Mountains for a rollicking good dungeon adventure. And after that, there are ample scenario seeds, short suggestions for rumors and whatnot. And so I think that ultimately it is a ridiculously overstocked starter product. And so I encourage you all to pick it up if you, and any of our viewers at home, if you see it available at your stores for a ridiculously low shelf price as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they're mad to sell it for that. And
Thank you. Well, I mean, the reason that the price set, and I think it's $29, $29.99 US is our rate on it. And the reason we set it at that is we don't want price to be a barrier for entry.
Right.
In terms of it, you've got a book like the core rule books these days are about $55 American, and that's a lot for a commitment. And the idea of here is this is a lot of nights and days of playing for really good value. And then I hope is that if you like it enough, you'll go in and buy the rest. But going from this to the slipcase set is a big, significant adjustment for some people.
Right. And so anyway, so now that this is finally entering the retail and ordering chute, next up will be the Weapons and Equipment Guide, which is sort of the gear version of the Red Book of Magic. That is in final layout, and later on I can show you all the cover if you would like to see and let you flip through the pages on my computer. But I won't bore us for the camera part of the things. I won't stop the presentation. And then after that, things are just really piling up on our desks. We have Jeff's Sartar source book, which is probably going to be a boxed set as well, full of maps and individual booklets. And that will really dig deeply into Sartar as a campaign. And that book, or that set, will have both player-facing material so that you can get more detail with your character. It'll have clan creation rules so that you'll be able to describe your clan and detail their holding and all of the different factors, and really almost, handle that almost as a base building mechanic so that you can upgrade your clan during sacred time and invest and see what sort of things your adventuring life can bring to enrich your clan and overall your tribe. And it also has a walkthrough of time, and I think we'll have some scenarios as well. And then we're going to eventually, the Sartar is the sort of the test product, and then we'll eventually be doing similar sets for all of the major homelands. One of the people in this room, for example, is in charge of the Esrolia set, and then we've got a Lunar Tarsh set being discussed. Gracelands is somewhere. I need to follow up with the artist about that, or the author about that, and then Prax is also. We've got that kicked off. So very, very a raft of these kind of awesome products with this as sort of a visual sample of what you can expect to see from those. And then we've got the massive Cults book, which will be it'll be about the size of the RuneQuest core slipcase set. It will be 2 books, very large. Jeff likes to write a lot of words, and Glorantha has a lot of gods. So the 2-book Glorantha slipcase, I was going to add the and more. I hadn't gotten there. So the 2 books, the main 2 books that detail all the cults and the gods, those are all illustrated by Loic Musi and Agatha Pitte, who does that crazy sort of weird future punk medieval style that looks really awesome. And then Loic's unbelievable art. It's been just a joy to see these things pop up on my feed all the time of the internal Slack channel where I get to look at the art as it comes in. And then there's a 3rd book that Jeff was putting together as using as sort of a reference of the Prosopedia. And originally we discussed it'll probably just be text, just a little stapled thing that we have a very basic cover. It'll just slide in. And then when Jeff said, so let's not do anything fancy with that. And then I reviewed it and edited it, and I went, wait a second, this thing it's going to be 130 pages. You can't just have a 130-page plain text book. And so we decided, all right. So we went back and forth about art for that, and we didn't want to add that to Loic's schedule because doing more art on the same would be, I think, a little too much. And as it happened, I don't know how many of you follow her work, but Katrin Dirium, who does a lot of really just amazingly gorgeous RuneQuest stuff, but her art style is stuff that you don't really put her doing art in a scenario, or character portraits because she's got such a different style. But for a prosopedia that's all about mythology and mythological figures and gods, it was absolutely perfect. So what I proposed to her, and it jumped on enthusiastically, was that the entire prosopedia be illustrated by her. And by that, she has done, I don't know, it's like 50 or 60 illustrations. But we decided to go just even more and take it even crazier, a little further. And she's redesigned the entire look and feel of the book. She's done the page borders, she's done the drop caps, she's done the decorative elements that surround the boxes. And she just really went to town with it. And it's going to be just an amazing piece of work. And the cool thing too is that Weapons and Equipment, it will probably be the last book that you see that looks like the current phase of booklets, because we're using cults and that as sort of a springboard to a little more next level in terms of art design, and re-examining some of the stuff that the books have looked like for the first phase of rollout. And we'll be taking that even further and stretching it even more, so books, I think, will look even cooler and more amazing and spotlight the art more. We're getting the layout artist, Simeon, will be involved much earlier in the process. Normally, for those of you who have published books, and I know a few of you have here, normally what happens is you have your manuscript, and then you sort of commission some art, and then you just hand it over to the layout person and say, please make this beautiful. And in this case, we're going to say, this is the manuscript, let's figure out what we need for art. Where does it need to go? What would be a dramatic piece? And from the very early stages, the book will be sort of conceptualized visually, and it'll have a firm identity. So future products will be, I think, much cooler, and also with an eye towards much more usability. And so that is what's coming up after. That's probably the next 6 to 8 months of RuneQuest material. We will be doing some short follow, in between products, maybe some just PDF only things, a couple of adventures. I have a packet of, I think it's 12 or 14 non-human NPC or non-human adventurers for use with the starter set or just as sample characters. And then eventually we'll have a new update of Elder Races that includes everything and updates that, including bringing rules for playing some characters that we had previously decided we would not have rules for playing. Jeff and I went back and forth about dragon newts, for example, and then it's no, dragon newts are too weird and unknowable, and Albriami are too weird and unknowable, Mustali are too weird and unknowable. So we'll be seeing some more.
But our gamers are too weird and unknowable.
Yes. Are we saying that our players are too limited in their minds to play these weird characters? So no, we decided why not, and so we'll have a lot of characters like that will actually be playable as playable races for adventurers. So that should be a pretty cool product, and our author of that has just shifted his attention over to that, so we should be seeing some of that pretty soon. And we've got a Hjortland source book that will add Hjortland to the list of starting homelands for player characters, and that'll follow this Sartar model. We have Robin Laws's updated Big Rubble and Pavis books are in hand and in editing now. We'll send those into art directing soon, and final editing by myself and Jeff. There's just so much stuff coming down the pipeline. It's a bit absurd. I have probably 15 or so standalone adventures that will be probably collected into another adventure book along the lines of Smoking Ruin and Pegasus Plateau, tentative title The Dreaming Ruins. Jonathan Tweet has submitted a book to us. Originally it was going to be titled Your Glorantha May Vary, but we thought instead that was too much of an in-joke. And so I think the title we settled on was The Dragon's Eye, which he details a lot of key Glorantha locations. And conceptually, when we started the book, Jonathan was going to do like alternate versions of each of these to be like, what if it was like this instead of what is commonly known? But then he and Jeff talked about it for a long time. I came in, I weighed in, and I said, I don't know. I don't think that we should really be doing a lot of conceptual ideas for areas that we haven't actually detailed in reality for the core game. So Jonathan went back, and this is now just an amazing collection of cool adventures or adventure locations and critical places throughout Dragon Pass, with little sidebars that are like, but it could be like this, and sort of alternate takes on those that shake up the established canon about the areas, because that's something Jonathan's really good at, is messing. And Jonathan came back and he was like, actually, now that we decided that this would be more like in line, he said he found it much more fun to write, which I thought was interesting. Yeah, I mean, and the GM book is ongoing. There's a few chapters that I need to straighten out. One of the big holdups for that was the battle system, which we decided that we wanted to have it synchronized with the Pendragon battle system so that the core concepts were the same. But we wanted basically the chassis to be the Pendragon battle system, and then we would expand that to be the RuneQuest battle system, because unless Pendragon has changed dramatically since I last played, player character knights are not capable of rune magic, flying, and they don't have a series of things they can do on the battlefield, like summoning giant earth elementals or causing fiery rains to fall upon their foes. Can they do that now? I saw the Green Knight. It was pretty weird.
I don't think they can.
Okay,
not in the basic battle description.
Okay, so maybe experienced knights can do that?
Yeah.
So anyway, so then basically we've had to sort of take the, what is a skirmish level game where the default figure is an armored knight on horseback, and then we had to say, well, what if it's a, earth priestess who's hanging around at the back of the fight summoning earth elementals to dig trenches and destroy knights, and what if it's a crazy woman on a bison charging at the beginning of the forefront, or Harmast dramatically leading from back at the home front, defending that against incursion. So that's coming together. It's going to be also overstuffed, but my goal is to make it exactly the size of the GM pack and screen, so that for those of you who want to have your slipcase of the bestiary, the core book, but the GM pack and screen, like when I pulled mine out and unwrapped the plastic, I could never get it back to fit in the slot there. So I want to make the book exactly or slightly smaller than that, so that can make the nice set. And there you go. So with this, I mean, this is all talking about like print products, but we are also doing a number of things that involve the digital world. And with this, I'm going to turn it over to my good friend Neil Robinson.
Thank you, Jason. So I just want to go back to this, because Jason and I are in different points in the development process and the release process.
Yes.
And so for Jason's done with this. In fact, Jason's been done with this pretty well.
Yeah,
for many months.
I turned in my last, I edited there's an error.
There's a PDF.
There's an error in one of the character stat blocks, but it's not that big of a deal. So it's a monster stat block. So
I get it, and
it's not critical.
We get
and
the PDF will be updated.
It's been fixed in the PDF.
So, but what I mean by that is, at that point, it comes online. It comes to me, and I manage a lot of the digital, the website area. But it also, from the marketing and then the sales of those people, working with Brian and on that. And so when he gets it, I need to get it ready for sale. It's been actually ready on the website for sale for a while, but it's we can't turn it on yet because we don't want to release it until it's available for all our main warehouses. They're being the UK, the United States, and it's in Poland, but
Australia,
but Australia and Canada, they're actually, Australians got it first by a long time. But sometimes you can't afford to wait that long, and COVID has been a nightmare for us from a shipping perspective. Production, we've lost paper. There's not enough paper in the world. There's not enough cardboard in the world, and there's too many ships in the wrong place, and that's what we're
many empty containers sitting unused.
There's not enough lorry drivers in
And
That's apparently another problem.
That's another challenge we have. We just got another book that finally arrived. Had been in the UK for almost 3 weeks, but it couldn't make it to the fulfillment place. And we're talking 200 kilometers, if that. And it couldn't. The last mile was terrible. Yeah. So we've shipped it to our last warehouse for this that we plan to, which is the UK. So I don't have a date yet on when it arrives. Next week I should know better, and as soon as I do that, it'll be publicly available. We're not, normally, we release the PDF early. We're not releasing the PDF early, releasing it at the same time, because for a starter set, it's not the same, right,
yes.
as a book, because the tangible piece is so much more. That's how we want you to play it and use the system and market it.
Yeah.
So it's only one marketing event. So I've worked with Brian a lot. I've worked with Jamie and David are very heavily involved in the starting the Solo Quest adventure to do a few things that make this more accessible to new players. You're not our audience for this. I'll be really, really honest. You are not. You guys don't need a starter set to learn how to play.
I'm saying they totally are.
They are. No. Well, okay, let's go on that. We need to produce a thing that works well for people who need to get into the game.
Yeah.
And move further.
We are not enough to sustain.
No, that's not true. I think this room isn't, but I don't believe that. I think the audience is large enough. Now that we have a very good international flavor. But if we want to do bigger and bolder things, then the audience, and we've learned that the audience is a lot bigger. People play the individual ones and they want to go get started on the game. We give them the quick start. It's hard to go to that next level. So we've done two things that we're doing digitally, and I can show those around if you want to see later. The first one is we've taken the starter adventure,
the solo
adventure, Quest 1, and because of what we develop it in, we actually have it on our website. So you will be able to play it using Twine as the engine and run through it and do it. And there's a dice roller.
It'll be just a click-through adventure.
Click-through to play
with a little bit of home pen and paper mechanics, or does it?
You don't need a pen and
dice?
paper.
Oh wow!
You mean free of charge for newbies to get interested in?
Yes, completely free, because that's a part of it. So, and then obviously you can download download characters, and the characters you need the sheet to play it. You have to open it up in a window, but all that is there. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing we're doing is we're releasing a very small targeted RuneQuest Glorantha wiki. And we're going to do this for all of our games. And this wiki is something, it's a static website. It's not a traditional wiki where there's multiple editors or anything. It's just us. But it gives you the basic rules you need to play for our games. RuneQuest is our first big test one. And it gives you the basic overview of the world of Glorantha.
Yeah.
And the idea is that's all you need to play something that's quite, someone new to pick up the game.
Right.
And then we've stolen, Jason and I, even just our discoveries since I've got out to Germany, is we're adding to that some of the quick character creation model.
Yeah.
So that you'll be able to quickly create one of, I don't know.
The number of permutations is something like 72, but it's basically breaking character creation into short modules so that you could, for example, just roll a handful of dice and go, all right, this is my stat block spread, these are my basic runes, this is my homeland, this is my profession, and these are my passions and my elemental runes and whatnot. And there you go, that you have a core character that functions in the game. It may not have the depth of going through the step-by-step, year-by-year family history or whatnot, but you have a playable character that, for example, if you're trying to get some new people in on playing, they won't be sitting around, you don't hand them a book and say, I'll see you in an hour when you're done rolling up your character. Because for an absolute new player, character creation can be sometimes a little challenging for games. Or a character sheet can just seem like there's so much here, I'm overwhelmed.
Okay, and so we've got that, and then that also ties into, we are in talks with people, I don't have an answer yet, on other ways, on online character managers and things like that. You may all be aware that we brought the Dole's House, which was for Call of Cthulhu, we brought that in-house, so we're more committed to having free online resources for people to be able to play our games better online.
Yep.
I mean, how many people in this room have played a game on Zoom or Roll20 or some other virtual tabletop? Is there anyone who hasn't? You have not.
No.
So you have not played a game in a year and a half?
No, I generally play games like KRAKEN.
Okay.
There you go.
But you get the point, right? I mean, honestly, when COVID locked down, I started playing games. We were in a play test with Jason.
Yeah.
Kicked off.
We still are.
Still are?
It's just on
Yeah,
hiatus for the
just
moment
traveling.
because all of the travel.
Yeah,
and
I
the
have
moving.
I'm in a RuneQuest game that for the White Bull that we actually put on YouTube that I play with that Jeff's running. All of those wouldn't have happened without it, and it's pretty clear it would be much easier to play that game if we had things that would help us manage it a little better. So that's our goal.
Right.
It's I've also played other games on like Roll20 or something that has a full character creator, an online management within that system. It works better for some games than other games. Cthulhu is very supported in Roll20.
Right.
So
And-
sorry if I make you repeat, but the company bought a website where you
The
can
Doll's
play-
House that's for Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, it's it has a complete character generator, and I think they can create NPCs and store them as well.
Yeah, it's got a lot of different options in some of the
Okay,
generations and some. It's
Yeah.
got a few other tables.
I use that and the Hero Lab Call of Cthulhu creator,
Oh,
and so
okay.
I'm a little confused about which ones do which.
Yeah.
So,
You want to do the same thing with RuneQuest, or?
Yeah, long term.
Yeah.
I don't know when that will happen. I
Yes.
probably wouldn't use the technology we use for the Doll's House because it's an older product developed, but the
Yeah.
concepts and the data model and all the data structures and how you interplay with it. And these days there's lots of ways to, what's the right word, interconnect things.
Right.
But if someone has one that's coming sooner than we can deliver it, then that's something that we'll support as well. We want people to be able to play these games more easily on it. Specifically, a game that's not as large as the big ones, right? Right now, D&D is extremely well supported digitally. Call of Cthulhu is, and then it starts to go down. Pathfinder is. It goes down a little bit in the tiers of just a game that's based on popularity, because another company, third-party company, isn't going to do it for a game that has a smaller audience. So. But those are the digital. Those are really the digital pieces.
Oh, there's another thing we're working on. I can talk
What are
about.
we working on?
Spell decks. We're actually
right.
putting all of these, now that the Red Book of Magic is a finalized product, we're having an author condense all of that information into decks of rune spell cards and spirit magic cards, so that you'll have quick references at the table for each spell. And then that has spun out a series of like the Malleus Monstrorum monster and encounter cards and the keeper deck stuff for Call of Cthulhu. We'll be doing most of the equivalents for RuneQuest as well. Right now we're surging in development on the encounters card deck, which will be right now I think split up into two. We've got like NPCs, useful NPCs, and then monsters, and that will be a deck. The cards will be somewhere like larger than tarot cards, I think at the size of the Malleus Monstrorum card deck, if you're familiar with those. They're pretty big. They're like just a little bit smaller than this.
Yeah.
Like
Part of it is you want to put a lot of information,
yeah.
but
And
you have a lot of older people with tired eyes, and if you make it too small,
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We've all been like, these need to be readable by everyone. And just hypothetically, everybody should be able to read these. I'm not speaking about any of the developers, not at all.
No.
Put these glasses on for that. Okay, what's next? All right. And yeah, we've got those underway. And I mean, really right now, stuff is just piling up, and we're actually at a point where our layout person is sort of freaking out at how much stuff is coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. Well, I mean and truth be told, we're asking Sim to be involved in more than one project.
Yes.
So they have a lot of things on their plate.
Yeah.
We have, we have other people that we're hoping that will be assisting us in the layout in different areas.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's
Yes.
a great opportunity for us as both as a general Chaosium company, but specifically for RuneQuest.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was, I hated to pull some away from the Pendragon stuff because some of, I don't know if it's been talked about, is it a scoop? But some of the page design has like little marginalia in it for the Pendragon games, like those little monsters and creatures and cute little doodles that monks used to put into the page layout. And so our layout artist has learned how to make those and is creating all these little whimsical things to go on the page.
Wait, yeah, we haven't even talked about that. So
Oh,
that's
okay,
a
sorry.
no. I don't mean
That's
it's
a scoop.
This is a
Forget-
but no. But what I meant was that we could have a whole hour just on what's coming for Pendragon.
Yeah.
But that's something that, if we had David Larkins here,
Yes.
or that would probably be more appropriate. for
Maybe
that.
next year.
Maybe next year.
We'll have to get another pension to fill so that we can just have team.
Well, I think we're just going to do what Steve did, and we're going to get we'll have the
massive
Chaosium bus.
camper.
And
That'll
we'll just
be
make sure
amazing.
it's up for all
We'll
the
just
people.
be sleeping in bunks.
No kidding.
We can all do like hot bunks where we're just
Hot swap.
rotating. Yeah, we're just rotating out in 8-hour shifts so that we
Yeah.
can do 24-hour games.
I think that's why my dad said he left the Navy.
Oh.
Do you want to do just questions now?
Yes. I would like to open the floor to questions or open the table. And then afterwards, I'll pop open my screen here and show you some weapons and equipment stuff.
You'll probably go out of the room because I think there's another. Is there a seminar after this? Another one?
No, there's not.
Okay, no, I think it's just people hanging around.
Yeah, Sandy
Okay.
panel.
Discovery of panel 10.
Okay, so then, well,
I have one question.
I've got it here, and it's starting in 18 minutes.
okay. Well, we started a little late.
If you think how is it important for newer players?
Sorry,
You
Hervé?
say you're building a Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi.
A wiki.
for-
A wiki.
Wiki. Sorry,
Yes.
it's like Wikipedia. How does it work? Why is it important for newer players? Do they go to this?
Okay.
I have no idea.
I'll give you a more extreme example of one that I think is a really good one. Is I play my friends. I still game with my friends back in Washington State. Sometimes I have to get up at 5 a.m. to play with them. But we heavily use the online resources they have. There's one called the Pathfinder SRD. It's a really extremely well done, extremely well designed for players to play and get understanding of it.
You consult it as you play.
Yes.
All the time.
Ah.
Now you're also playing. Now don't forget, this is also a world where there'll be a lot more remote play, no matter what.
Yeah.
And if we design this, it's also mobile friendly, so you don't have to have your laptop open at the game. You can have your phone open instead of a book, and you can skim through. It's not. Let's be clear on what it is and what it isn't. It doesn't replace the Red Book of Magic,
Okay.
No.
but it does have a good overview of the main spells,
Yes.
right? So
You
you have.
need to know a spell description. Does this work? It's rather than a whole bunch of book flipping. Somebody can just discreetly go, "Oh, that's what that does."
Yes.
Or
That's how it
You ever
goes.
had
And
an argument about strike ranks? Type in strike rank and you'll find it there, and you can go
Yes.
through on that. It is not a complete thing. It is more about supporting play, and it's more of an introduction on Orlanth or something, as opposed to a deep. It's not a deep dive in it.
right. It's not intended to replace the existing Glorantha wiki or Well of Dahlia.
Dahlia, that's not what it is. It's not a deep lore thing of
It's-
knowledge.
it's
It's
a-
a very targeted, and the audience are people who want something quick and simple to find or look up. That maybe they don't, and it's completely in line with this.
Yeah.
So your player who doesn't, your GM buys the starter set, you're playing away. The player has a question
And the
about
core
part of
book.
it. And the core book, yeah.
So yeah, and it's just meant to be a super easy reference so that if you hand something, a character sheet to somebody, they can look up any questions they have almost immediately.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, as we've been kind of moving into a far more digital age, we've seen over and over again that players are increasingly, the phones are references at the table. People have got their games on iPads. Their rule books are all stored electronically. I know people who game entirely digitally now. They're not saying that they just use their like a Kindle for their reference for everything. And so It's basically aimed at making all of that stuff a lot more accessible.
You do it for everything, so why
Yeah.
not for gaming?
Well,
Yep.
I mean, this is just an evolution of the hobby, I think, you know. I mean, yeah, it's not like those electronic dice gaming ones that were going to make dice. Do you remember those? They were going to just destroy dice.
Oh, well, there is actually an item I
Dragon
want.
Ball,
Oh, yeah.
that's what they were called.
They have a Kickstarter for it. I didn't sign up for the Kickstarter. I should see if I could do on. But they're Bluetooth enabled dice.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
these dice, and here's the deal, right? My Pathfinder group, people still want to physically roll dice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're Bluetooth enabled, they'll hook up with your app that you're playing online with your friends. You can still get that rolling feeling, and it reports to them the number.
Wow.
As opposed to saying, yeah, I rolled a.
This is
Oh, it's another
Oh,
critical.
it's another critical.
Wow. The dice are really hot for me today. The dice that you can't see, any of you.
Yeah.
No.
Which is fine with your friends, but not with people you've never met before, right? If you're playing online with them, it's a better medium.
Next question. You, sir.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned Jonathan Tweed,
Yeah.
are you maybe talking about anything related to 30th age Laura?
That is entirely out of our hands, if I
Yeah,
know.
no,
I mean,
that's-
that's something Neil would actually know more at level.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
it's not
I'm
something
to
in
blame
my-
for 13th Age in Glorantha in that I really felt that it was a cool opportunity. And when we did the concept of it, RuneQuest wasn't tied to Glorantha anymore. So
Yeah.
bear in mind, I may not have made that decision had we had RuneQuest at the time. Jonathan's goal with the Dragon's Eye, for example, is something that you can play that you don't need to have. It's not a RuneQuest product, it's a resource without it. If you're asking, is there a version 2 of all the work, a second book in the series where you could add more 13th Age archetypes and Gloranthan? Not right now, probably not. We're really trying to focus just on RuneQuest.
Right.
Not
I have
because-
to ask.
No,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fair
Yeah.
enough. I mean, I was lucky enough to play. I was in the game in his campaign
Right.
as we went through those.
Right. And as far as I understand, the 13th Age title is still owned by that.
13th Age is
Glorantha.
Glorantha is still on our website. It's still available.
Right.
Fire Opal Media is the writer, and then Pelgrane are the publisher, and that's all continuing.
Right.
I'm not sure on their line, but we
Yeah.
don't have. There's no plans for a book,
Yeah.
in terms of that I know at this moment.
Right. So, next question. Yes.
What's the state of the hero questing groups for RuneQuest?
Hero questing. Chris Klug was writing those. He hit a bit of a block, and I think just for personal reasons, he had to set it aside for a little while. He's an educator at Carnegie Mellon, and the shift from being an in-classroom teacher to being a virtual teacher was a very dramatic one. He's continued with those, and I think they're at this time the rules are at a state. They're pretty cool. We're probably also going to go with a box set for that because there's an interesting assembling a hero quest mechanic using these sort of heavily detailed cards where you'll sort of be able to assemble quests, your hero quests through cards and come up with a system where they can be generated on the fly by a GM. And I think that product is at the point where it's going to have to come back to Jeff and I, and we're going to wrangle it across the finish line.
So it won't be part of the Game Master book.
The Game Master's book will actually have a Campbell soup condensed version of that, if that means anything to you. The
Joseph Campbell's.
Yes, the Joseph Campbell soup version. It will be a much shorter version because initially I wanted to have the GM book really go into detail on hero questing, and then Jeff gave me like a 70-page chapter and said, "Here you go," and I was like, "This is a third of the book, or a quarter of the book," and so we realized that it really needed to be a work of its own because, some of the challenge of that was step one, be Greg Stafford, or failing being Greg Stafford, it would be Jeff Richard. And so those are not always available to everyone at the tabletop. So
You don't have hero forming Greg Stafford rules?
we're working.
Well, Jeff got close.
Yes. So that'll be coming out. It's probably at least a year and a half away. I mean, we're also, because we've sort of decided to take things, get a little more interesting graphically with our products, and boxed products are no longer, there used to be that barrier to where you just like, nothing must go in a box. Now suddenly it's like, well, actually boxed products sell quite well.
Yeah, the challenge with box products actually is not about this, is about the tax.
Yeah.
Tax.
Tax.
Yeah.
Tax and
It's
tariffs.
different if it's in a box?
Yes.
Tax and
If
tariffs.
they did, okay.
Different
Yeah.
countries.
So let me give you an example from here, from the camera. You're exactly right. This has dice in it.
It hasn't?
It's a game.
Yes.
Okay.
What's the tariffs on VAT on games in the UK?
I have no idea.
20%. Okay?
France.
This is
The book.
a book. What's the VAT? 0
5%.
in the UK.
And you can eat them.
0.
Ah,
And if you sell, it used to be, now Brexit's changed this, if you sold and delivered from the UK to Europe pre-Brexit, as long as you didn't sell more than like 75,000 euros of the product, you only had to pay the VAT based on the company in the EU you were shipping it from.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's still, now they have a new homogenized VAT model where you have to track it and report taxes, and we don't, we ship our books from Poland now, we don't for Europe, so, but it's a massive difference. This is the killer for board games,
okay.
right? It's so, you're paying such a large amount of VAT on your products that it makes it really hard. So if I'm saying, if I put it in a box versus I put it in a book, and you're telling me 20% tax, I'm gonna have to charge you 20% more, or I'm gonna have to eat 20%. That's a really hard story.
Yeah, and quite sadly, it's not always predictable. I mean,
Correct.
sometimes it's applied haphazardly, like one product with identical contents inside will be charged that tax and the other will not, based on the customs inspector who actually filled it out. It's a little nuts.
Yeah, but it's the first time that matters.
Yeah.
Because
so-
once you get the first one, you're like, well, this guy said it was, you have a better opportunity.
Right.
But, and once again, for us, and it's the UK has made it more challenging because of the discussion between of how we get it, because they're still, they're having to change their whole customs and import process. Will it get sorted? It'll get sorted, but it's not there yet.
All right, so
So
that
you
is,
say that you ship from Poland to continental Europe?
Yes,
Yes.
we've been doing that but we started that before Brexit. But yes, so
yeah. So next question. I think we can get one or two in. Yes, you.
Okay, since you were talking about RuneQuest and digital age, I mean, can we expect at some point, a AAA game based on the RuneQuest franchise?
you mean like
A computer game?
computer
Computer
game?
game, yeah.
Well,
like-
I believe that there was an announcement of some sort about that very early. What? Oh, I thought some.
No, there isn't, apparently.
Okay. Neil's giving me this, so no. All right.
Actually, Jeff spoke about it, I think, over here.
Yeah, yeah.
We're always happy to support multiple games for all our games.
That's also corporate.
Yes. We are open to all avenues.
We're open to all avenues, and if you are someone who's looking to do that, but right now there are no words.
I never tire of this.
Right. So, next.
Yeah, you were re-examining the Dragon Pass, Nomad Gods, and so on.
Yes,
Is there any progress on that?
yes, a lot of progress, but
Yes.
we had a few different ideas of it. I think one we actually demoed here a long time ago.
I
But
believe.
yeah, we're looking at going back to the original version closer, redoing the art on it, and redesigning it a bit. If you think of what they did with Dune, same sort of idea.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
re-release of the classical.
Yeah. So now the Lunars have a chance of winning.
But yeah, but I mean, honestly, as work has proceeded on all of these, but right now with the whole printing disaster that has been that, you know, who would imagine a global pandemic would utterly prove like an extinction level event for board games, which we will get through, but it's made things, we have to sort of wait and see about how that plays out and wait for all of the supply chains to be restored and printing to be normalized before we can start pushing it.
Yeah, well, it's a follow-up now. What about virtual tabletop versions of that done by you?
Virtual tabletop versions of board games or role-playing games?
Of your board games.
Well, we don't have the board games to do the virtual tabletops yet.
Yeah.
You know, I look at the current virtual tabletop online ones. I mean, there's one. Let's get the game out first and see. And at that point, we're certainly supportive of having virtual top versions of all of the things we can deliver with it. 100%. That's a fair statement. It wouldn't be first, but yeah, that's something we would definitely want to look at. Just like we're looking at moving SoloQuest online. People play board games online. You know, sometimes it's hard to find a group for a board game. And the nice thing is it saves state. So you can go away and get back, and you don't have to worry about, you know, if you don't have the table in the basement that supports the big board game, because you play on your living room table and you have to leave your dining room table and you have to leave it for 3 weeks. Yeah, not anymore. Any other questions?
There was an announcement that there was going to be a RuneQuest.
Was there?
Yes.
Oh, you looked.
I'm
Okay.
not crazy. I looked on the internet. Yes, if you go to chaosium.com,
Where's that?
blog, Black Shamrock to bring beloved fantasy
are
role-playing
they?
adventure game RuneQuest.
There you
with
go.
all
I just
new
want to be careful on it. I don't want to
Yes,
get in trouble. So there we go.
Yes, we have actually announced officially on our site that Black Shamrock will be.
I didn't
doing-
know. I'm so surprised.
Okay, well, yeah, I was thinking, I'm pretty sure that's common knowledge. So yes,
It's so much like normal business, it's very
yeah.
funny.
No, and that was actually announced 2 years ago, so.
Oh,
Yes, so
No commitment on time.
I cannot say anything about what's happening with that, but it is definitely a real thing.
that is
I mean,
definitely
yes.
both that is definitely true.
Yeah,
There's certainly an involvement still, and
Right, yes.
yeah, it will. You know, as much as anyone can say that, it will be there.
Yeah, but no, it has been announced. It's not what they call just rumors and innuendo.
Okay.
So many things are being
So-
announced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think we have like 2 minutes left or 1 minute left.
Okay.
Last question. Anyone want to throw one over the fence before the buzzer sounds? Anyone?
And if you want to see the book,
Oh, yeah.
Jason, or you want to talk, see what it means, everybody, if you want to see what I mean by the wiki, or if you want to see all the other pieces, we'll leave this. We'll find another table we can help people out and carry on the conversation.
All right, here, I'm...
Although Sandy's got the Pameltella one too.
Right, yeah, so we'll have to do just a really super fast thing for that. But anyway, thank you all for coming and for your wonderful questions and your attention.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the call.